Welcome, my friends, to another episode of The Broker Journey. And I am really excited for today's conversation because it's with one of my most favorite people in this industry and who I think honestly is the best AE around. And that is my partner in crime, the closer, Kerry Cole. Kerry, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Fraser. Happy to be here. Always excited to chat with you and, really kind of get a chance to talk a little bit more about, AE broker relationships and how that really can change the game in the wholesale industry.
Yeah, and it absolutely does. And, I've worked with a lot of AEs, and this isn't a slide against them. I worked with a lot of great AEs. But, when it comes down to the relationships and really understanding and being there and being an advocate for brokers, because we see it all the time in the Facebook groups, where, hey, my AE doesn't get back to me. My AE does this, da, 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 da. And that's why, like, whenever, well, now a little different, but and we'll get into that. But that's why when everyone was like, "Hey, what AE do you know here?" I'd be like, "Oh, it's Kerry, easily, right, Kerry." And then it wasn't just me; is that you would see onslaught majority of people say Kerry, and that's a reason, right? Because Kerry answers her phone, Kerry responds back, Kerry is a true advocate for her brokers that she works with, and that's important, right? And honestly, I don't get why more AEs don't do that and why they go into ostrich mode whenever there's a challenge, because there's going to be challenges. But you've always shown that the relationship is first, and I know you care. And just to give you guys a little bit background is that, I first met Kerry when we both worked at EPM, and we were partnered on the wholesale side as we were growing that channel for EPM. And it was always great to work with Kerry. It was always great to see her work, because ultimately it gave me a deeper understanding of how important that relationship is between the broker and the AE, and how that really can make the difference. So before we get into a lot of that, Kerry, for those that don't know your tremendous history in this business and what you do, give us just a little recap of where you started and where you're at today.
Yeah, no. So I started fresh in this industry in 1999 as a processor for, a subprime lender, had various roles over the years, loan originator, had an opportunity to move into wholesale, whole new game, whole big world out there that, introduced me to a lot of new people, new relationships, it's just huge, the wholesale side. Most recently, I just moved over to MLB Wholesale, which has been tremendous for me. I was very much attracted to the mission of the organization, making lives better. I think that's something that I just align with. And it's something that I think that's how I show up every day for my broker partners, for my loan officers. That's very important to me to make their lives better.
Yeah, and you get to work with another favorite of mine, a great person, and that's Laura Brandeo,
Absolutely.
who's over at running the show over at MLB Wholesale, kind of going back to her roots of what she built at AFR, and so obviously the great pairing in my view, and seeing how excited you are for the change, and excited you are for the new challenges, obviously, that it comes with a broker or with a lender that is trying to grow their presence, trying to grow their brand. So it's great to see. And so getting back to it is one is I'd like to look at like what you feel makes a successful partnership, because it is a partnership between the broker and the AE. Because to me, it's just like brokers are the face of their brokerage, right? Even if they're not the broker owner, they're the face of that. They're their own brand. You are the same as, when it comes to the lender, right? So that AE is that first connection. So talk to me about the importance of that partnership, and what you feel is the recipe of making a successful partnership.
Sure. For me, I think, the AE, loan officer, AE broker relationships, it's probably underutilized, not leveraged as it should be. Yes, everybody should be, responsive, answer the phone. Yes, I should be able to quote a price. Yes, we're all doing that. Yes, I should know my products. But it goes beyond that. It goes to, developing that trust, between the AE and the loan officer. When a loan officer brings in a loan, that is a vote of confidence. They are confident in you that you're going to deliver and bring that family home, get that clear to close, get that homeowner, situation handled. I think many times, it very basic levels are met, and it stops there. True successful AEs are growth partners. They're out there, they're expanding, guarding that reputation of the loan officer, of the broker, internally, externally. When they pass that baton over, it's a serious commitment. I take it just as seriously as they do. I want to bring that family, get them to the closing table. I think many times too, trust, right? Like everybody should have, a certain price, they should have certain speed. But do you have trust with your AE, right? If you don't, think about that. Think about that. Are they showing up for you when you need them the most? And I can assure you, trust is not built when things are smooth sailing. It is built when shit is hitting the fan. We're in the mortgage industry. Stuff happens all the time. Most recently, it's kind of a funny story. I could share this with you. I was in church, on a Sunday, and I see this loan officer calling. Of course, my phone wasn't silent, so there was that. But, so after church, I call him, I'm like, why is this, loan officer calling me on a Sunday? It's not even 10 a.m. What's going on? And they were, stressed out. They had a situation they never had encountered before. It was a buy before you sell situation. They weren't familiar. They said, Kerry, can you talk to the realtor with me? Of course. Bring them on the line right now. Let's get this handled. They didn't want to put the, offer in without having, any contingencies, unless they knew it was really going to be a good offer and the product fit the situation. That's huge. Communication, you talked about that. I don't understand it. I love talking to people. I don't understand why people don't answer the phone, in this role. Like, that's how business is done. You have to have conversations. Communication is vital. And I will also say, when it's leveraged correctly, it's really a two-way street. The best relationships I have with loan officers, with brokers, they're giving me the heads up. Hey, Kerry, this is the important situation on this file. Hey, Kerry, we have a tight deadline. We need to deliver this in 15 days. Kerry, I have, this is a new realtor partner. Please help me shine. I love hearing that. I love knowing the backstories. A lot of times, our loan officers are out there. They're, working hard. They're, working with some of these borrowers, could be for years, to get them to the opportunity of home ownership. What is the backstory? That helps me. It fires me up. It gives me fuel to make sure, I'm handling everything internally correctly to make sure, we are able to get that family to the finish line.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that you want the extra details so you could make sure that you put, again, it's about leverage, but it's leveraging the relationship. It's leveraging the personal piece of that. Cause I know personally, just by watching you work, of how much that, an emotion and caring that you put into that. And AEs are a growth partner for brokers. And you're right. It is a two-way street. And this is what I want to tell. And this leads to my next question. Now, guys, this is me saying this because Kerry's not going to say this because she loves you guys, right? I love you guys too, but I'm going to be a little bit real here. I'm going to be a little bit real here, is that I see loan officers complain about when agents do certain things to them for their business. And then I see them flip right around and do the exact same thing to the AE. Right. So meaning like, oh man, all this happened. Now this AE's mad. It's so lame that they're not, all this stuff. And then an AE does what now again, this is an AE that's performing, by the way, not an AE that ghosts you or whatever. Totally get that, pissed off. Great. Totally valid. But when you have someone that has been there for you, and I've seen this firsthand, I've seen brokers, not treat Kerry great, just because of something that was out of control or something. And even though she worked hard to do it, but they focus on that one thing as opposed to the 89 times that Kerry was there on a Sunday at night. And I've seen it, guys. Like, I've seen it sun up to sundown with how Kerry treats her, her book of business. That doesn't get like highlighted. It's just like that one miss. And so what I would say to brokers is that if you do have a solid AE, right? Treat them with the same respect that you want, like when you get pissed off when an agent does that to you because you had one bad day or you didn't do something right or whatever. You want forgiveness, right? You want a little bit of grace, right? And maybe that agent doesn't give it. You know how that feels. And then think about the AE that is like, literally, we've done 100 deals together. One got screwed up, and then now, like, like now I'm the bad guy forever, so, and it's because it's hard too, right? It's hard, like, and I know, trust me, I know, because Kerry I didn't prompt her to say that. Kerry took you down the journey of saying, let me know the backstory, let me know these things, let me know, so she could get in front of it, right? If she just said, all right, what loans and deals do you have for me today? Great, let's do it, let's go, right? Cool, right? But that relationship matters, and I would argue that the relationship in this new era of lending matters even more. And so if you were, and so we're gonna kick it up to a different level here, is if you're talking to a broker and you're saying, and let's say you're just giving advice, right? You're not saying, like, me personally, like as an, AE for MLB Wholesale, but as a broker, and you see them talking about this or that, and you're like, look, if you're a broker, this is the best way for you to leverage the relationship. These are the things that you don't want to do. These are the mistakes that you see brokers do that end up hurting them. And then it ends up blowing back on you, even though, like, it had nothing to do with that. So what would you say, like, you don't have to give me like a lot, but maybe, I don't know, maybe the top 3 or top 2 mistakes that you see brokers make when it comes to approaching the relationship with the wholesale lender?
Yeah, sometimes, like, when that communication is held back or not, shared, or
Mhm.
maybe like you get a call on a Tuesday and this has to close Wednesday.
Mhm.
Okay. Like, okay, we'll do our best to make that happen. But the more time that you have to get in front of something, you can position it better internally within your organization to have the priority that's needed. I
Mhm.
think that's important. I think also, let me help you with your submission quality, right? If you're submitting something that you're unsure about, let's not just slap it into underwriting and see what happens. Let's talk, like that's really not a good strategy for
Yep.
success. That makes it hard for me to, maybe protect the broker's reputation internally, right? I'd rather, take the time, do that legwork, up front. I think all successful AEs, are doing that legwork up front.
Mhm.
Does this, VA manual underwrite make sense? Let's look at that. Let me help you improve your, submission quality. That's really, where some magic, is happening. I also think that just having that trust, and knowing that the, AE, that role is to protect your reputation. That's what the, should be one of the, forefront things that, a good AE is doing, for a broker. They want them to shine, right? Because if a good AE is removing that stress, removing that friction, from the process, that loan officer is able to go out, find more realtors, be in front of their realtors more, than they would otherwise.
Mhm. And I want to kind of highlight one of the things that you said. And my friends, look, some of you are probably going to take this the wrong way, which wouldn't be the first time for me. But I think you're going to understand. And I know top producers agree with this 100% because they tell me all the time, right? And they post about it too. Is that we get a lot, at least in my experience, we get a lot of that. What Kerry was talking about, like, just throw spaghetti up against the wall and see what sticks, right? Let's get it in underwriting. Just know that every time that you do that, you are hurting future turn times, not just for other people, but for yourself too, because then you have a lot of and I see it all. I see things get submitted that have no business being submitted. Like, did you even look at anything? And it's bad. And then I hear the same thing is like, sometimes people are complaining about turn times. And then, some of the, people that are doing, 15, 20, 30 units a month say, look, I see what you guys are submitting, because it's on my team or whatever. And it's like, you guys are the one causing the turn time problems because you're not doing the work up front. So as Kerry has said, it's a two-way street, right? She's willing to do whatever she can in her area of responsibility to help you guys win. You got to meet them halfway. Like, if you really want to, create a good, solid partnership with the wholesale lender, it's 50-50. Right? Now they got to perform on their end, of course, but you got to do the upfront work too. And just don't throw stuff up there just to see. There's a lot of different scenario desks out there, a lot of tools and things you could do. And honestly, I would say within the year, right, by the end of this year, if not sooner, if there isn't some sort of like blanket AI where you guys could throw all your different scenarios in or whatever and guidelines, and look, I'm looking at how we can help with that too on my side of the fence to create something for that. That way you don't have to do that. So that way you get somewhat of an answer. But I know a broker is like if we got 20,000 people, right, that we're serving, like you're just one person. You're like, oh, well, this shouldn't take too long to do this. Let me just like, there's a lot of loans that are going on, especially lenders that are doing 3, 4, 500, 600 units a month, right, of production. That one little thing takes those people out of rotation. So just remember, it's a two-way street. So what Kerry said, I want you guys to pay attention to it. Now, as you said, like I said it a little bit more bluntly than Kerry does, because like I said, Kerry loves you and she's nice, right? And look, I love you too, and I'm a pretty chill dude, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't help. Like, we don't want to sweep this stuff under the rug, because it's just more important. It's just so important this year, right?
And what I found is, a no up front is better than a maybe, right? A maybe and let's see what happens. Like that maybe, that never, and let's see what happens. That's where, it just breaks down. It just breaks down. If that's not structured right, coming in the door, it becomes, difficult to navigate things through the system. Sometimes it's, a no right now, but let's revisit it in 6 months. I think that's a better positioning than, throwing it into underwriting, tying up underwriting resources, and to your point, right, I think that's under talked about, right? When people do throw in, loans that are just never going to work, it does impact everybody's turn times. Like, we should expect more from each other. Because it does have an impact on everybody.
Yeah. And guys, like, I think that's a great statement right there. Like, we should expect more from each other. Right. And like, I know Kerry expects more from not just herself, but her team, and the lender that she's, working for. And you as a broker should expect more from yourself and your team, your contract processor, everyone should expect more, so that things get, because at the end of the day, we all want the same goal. And that's what I think and I get it. Brokers, don't get me wrong. Like, I get it, right? Like, you're in the trenches, you're doing the work, you're like, hey, I'm doing all this stuff. I want to make it happen. Right. I get it. But you also, guys, like, and yes, I know some AEs, as we've talked about, aren't great, and some are awesome, like Kerry. But like, Kerry's goal and your goal is the same, right?
100%.
Kerry wants closed loans. She wants you to close loans, right? Like, so you couldn't be in more alignment. So when you understand that the alignment and the goals are exactly the same, then it's like, what do I need to do in my business? And then what advice? Because like if you tell Kerry, like, hey, I think this needs to be tightened up, or I think you guys, this would be great if you guys did this or that, I know that it's received. Like, I know she's receiving that information and she's passing it along. Because I remember working with Kerry, she would send me an email, hey, this broker's trying to do this, is this something, hey, do we have something like that, like, all the time. And it wasn't because and it's because it wasn't falling on deaf ears. It's because she's like, all right, because we're all in alignment. Same with me, right? As just what I'm in my role now, and when I worked at a couple wholesale lenders and consulted for them, alignment, the same thing. I want those lenders to close more loans. I want the brokers that come to them, especially the ones that I'm referring to, close more loans and have a good experience. So the alignment is there. You just have to leverage it and make it real.
100%. I think, there's a, huge opportunity when that partnership is really looked at, right? Beyond price, beyond speed, beyond product, right? That whole, there's a saying, right? Nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care. When you have a partner in an AE that is doing that for you, that cares as deeply as you do to get that family to the finish line, that's where mortgage magic happens. That's where the baton pass is smooth. That's where, anything that, can be uncovered during the underwriting process has already been, worked on, evaluated, situated in the correct way, so the right documentation is presented. It is, just a good thing, when we can, work together and AEs go beyond, just the basic thing of, answering the phone, right? Just the basic thing of doing a rate sheet, just the basic thing of having product knowledge. How are they, helping you grow your business? Do you trust them, to get that job done for you?
Yeah, 100%. And as we wrap up, what I want to wrap up with telling me about your role at MLB and what you guys are, focused on and building these next, we could keep it the next 3 months, the quarter. I know you guys have plans of what you're doing. And so just talk about what you're excited about at MLB
Yeah.
and what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. We're definitely like the vision of the organization is making lives better. For me,
Mhm.
that starts with the loan officers, that I work with, day to day, but it goes beyond that, right? Because it goes, how can I make lives better, for my coworkers? How can I, help more families and make their lives better? It's exciting to be building. It's exciting to be, growing. I'm happy. Like so many, brokers, have reached out to me, reminded me that they work with people, not companies. I think
Mhm.
that, was probably pretty powerful hearing that. And, I'm just excited to, grow and, keep building.
Awesome. Awesome. So, guys, I will put Kerry's contact information below in the show notes of this in the description. And you'll also see it in the article as well. But I reach out if you guys are looking to add another lender that's up and coming and that's putting a lot of resources into building to be a solid partner of brokers. Give her a call. Right, give her a call, shoot her an email. I promise she'll return it. She will answer her email. She definitely has made a reputation off of being responsive, being supportive. And guys, you should just already have taken that from this conversation. And Kerry is the first AE that I've had on here, and there's a reason for that. It's because when I say that she's the best, I truly believe that she's the best. Again, nothing against other AEs; they're great AEs. But that's all anecdotal, right? You could find a lot of people to recommend good AEs, but I just know Kerry so well because we work closely together. I saw it firsthand, and I also saw firsthand the brokers, right? Like they didn't just be like, "Oh, hey, Kerry," like that. That was like they wanted to see her at events. They wanted to talk to her. They wanted to give her a hug. They wanted to thank her because they know that her heart is the right place. She also has a mortgage mind, so she's not just an AE that worked at Best Buy last week and they just brought him in to talk to brokers, right? No, she knows the business. She's been in the business. She's been at various levels. She understands your plight. She's originated loans. So when you're looking for an AE that is going to be responsive, she is your person. So Kerry, my partner, thank you so much for joining us on the broker journey, and excited to have you back once you guys have put some real wind under yourselves this year with MLB and to see how things are going. Definitely we'll have Laura on the show at some point as well to talk to her from her perspective. But thank you again for joining us.
Absolutely. Always great to spend time with you.
Awesome.
Thank
Well,
you.
guys, that wraps up another episode of The Broker Journey. If you would like to be a guest on here, you could email me. All that stuff's going to be in the show notes, but you could email me at fraser@brokercmo.com and see if you fit what we're trying to do right now. And again, we just don't put anyone on here. Got to have a story. It's got to add value. And look, I'm looking for people that have a good story, maybe a good system or process. It's definitely not just only reserved for the top of the top, but I do want people that are going to make an impact with their story, right? If we're going to take time to have the interview, like Kerry and Jimmy and Todd and other people that we've had on here, Kenny we had on here, right? Like all of these people that we've had on here, they got to make an impact, right? So if you're going to make an impact, you have a good story to tell, email me. Would love to have you on the show. The Broker Journey is brought to you by Empower LO and Different Coaching. Obviously, you see the AIM stuff in the background. I'm with AIM too. So, but guys, this is all about sharing the journeys and stuff that are going to help other loan officers, whether they're a broker or not. So, hope you guys have an amazing day, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.